test using the steps to tackle ELA assessment. So can someone read step 1? Big one.
Read your text using the title as a clue to find the main idea. Take notes.
Now, when you take iReady and you take Park and you take these standardized tests, you cannot annotate on the computer screen, correct? Okay, so I don't want you to write on my test either. That's why I want you to take out a separate piece of paper. I'm going to model how I would annotate if I were taking a standardized test or approve it where I could not write on the sheet. So, we're using what is a clue? We're using what is the clue?
The title.
The title. Okay? So, the title on our Prove It was Want to Get into College, Learn to Fail. So I already know before I even start reading, this is going to be something to do with failing being okay, right? Alright, so I'm going to start reading. Many students experience intense pressure to be perfect in school, especially to ensure that they are accepted to a top university. But how important is a perfect college application? In this informational article, a dean of admissions discusses what colleges are really looking for and offers his surprising take on the importance of failure. So, when I'm annotating on a separate piece of paper, I'm going to write P1. What do you think the P stands for? Paragraph. So that way I know when I go and look back, that was from paragraph 1. Now, we know the purpose of annotating is so that when we get to the questions, we know the point of annotating is that when we get to the questions, we don't have to go reread the entire article. So if your annotations are longer than the article, or if they're happening after every sentence, that defeats the purpose, right? So we're going to try to keep it as simple as possible while still getting at the main idea. So from this paragraph, what I'm getting is that not only is it okay to fail, but colleges think it's important to fail. So you are writing on your paper while I'm writing on the board. I think it is okay. I'm at paragraph 2. I ask every student. Can someone please read that? Yes.
I ask every student I interview for admission to my institution, Pittsburgh College, the same question. What do you look forward to most in college? I was stunned and delighted recently when a student sat across from me at a Starbucks in New York City and replied, I look forward to the possibility of failure. Of course, this is not how most students respond to the question when sitting before the person who can make decisions about their academic future, but this young man took a risk.
Great. So when I was annotating this on my own, why do you think I didn't make another annotation of this paragraph? Kyle? What is it reinforcing?
They think it's
paragraph 1.
Yes, it's reinforcing what I already wrote in paragraph 1, which is colleges think it's okay to fail. So the way, I know a lot of people when they teach you annotation, teach you to do it after every paragraph or every other paragraph or every third paragraph. But the way I do it is when there's a new idea, that's when I make a new annotation. Sometimes that happens for 3 paragraphs in a row. Sometimes it doesn't happen for a couple paragraphs. But that's why I didn't make one here. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Can someone read the third, starting at UC? Jabria.
You see, my friends have never let me fail, he said. When I want to take a chance at something, they remind me it's not a safe route to take. Taking a more rigorous course or trying an activity I may not succeed in, they tell me will ruin my chances at college admission. Even the sacrifice of staying up late to do something unrelated to school, they see as a risk to my academic group and college success.
Good. Now I did make an annotation here because we've already said that colleges think it's okay, it's important to fail, but this one kind of took it a step further and explained why. Why is it important to fail?
Because it helps you succeed.
How? If you failed at something, what does that prove?
You tried?
Yes.
It makes you better at it. You know what your weaknesses is, and it makes you want to do more.
Okay, so failing makes you want to do better the next time? I'm also looking at the line that says, when I want to take a chance at something, they remind me it is not a safe route to take. Taking a more rigorous course or trying an activity I may not succeed in, they tell me will ruin my chances at college admission. But the college admissions counselor is saying that's not true. Why?
Because if you don't take the route, you wouldn't know. Like,
Keep going.
You won't like to do mistake.
if you don't take the route, you wouldn't know if you fail or not, or if they like it or not, or something.
Okay, you're getting at it. Okay, so they want to see you do what?
We want to see you fail to make it correct.
They want to see how you bounce back.
Yes. Okay, so is that the third? So P3, it is important to fail because it shows you know how to bounce back or overcome, right? Overcome obstacles. If someone's had a perfect life and nothing bad has ever happened to them, is it super impressive when they're successful?
No.
If someone's had a lot of challenges and they've like overcome them and risen above it, isn't that more impressive?
Yes.
That's what they're saying. So I'm actually gonna read the fourth one. If you're still writing, it's fine, just listen. It says, I wish I could tell you this is an uncommon story, but kids all over the world admit they are under tremendous pressure to be perfect. When I was traveling in China last fall and asked a student what she did for fun, she replied, I thought I wasn't supposed to tell you that. I wouldn't want you to think I'm not serious about my work. Students are usually in shock when I chuckle and tell them I never expect perfection. In fact, I prefer they not project it in their college applications. Of course, this goes against everything they've been told and makes young people uncomfortable. How could a dean of admission at one of America's most selective institutions not want the best and the brightest? The reality is perfection doesn't exist, and we don't expect to see it in a college application. In fact, admissions officers tend to be skeptical of students who present themselves as individuals without flaws. How would we summarize the main idea of just that paragraph? Big one.
They might trust you more if you admit that you got flaws, or they might not trust you if you try to act perfect. Like they might not want to admit you into the college because they feel like you might do too much.
I think that that's like a pretty perfect annotation to make, right? So what they're saying is that you are more trustworthy if you admit your flaws. They'd rather see someone that's self-aware and knows their weaknesses than someone who's pretending to be perfect, because we all know no one's actually perfect, right? So that's the fifth one, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Colleges want students who are aware of their flaws.
Yeah.
Jabria, can you read the last one at the bottom?
These days, finding imperfections in the college application is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Students try their best to hide factors they perceive to be negative and only tell us things they believe we will find impressive. This is supported by a secondary school culture where teachers are under pressure to give students nothing less than an A, and counselors are told not to report disciplinary infractions to colleges. Education agents in other countries are known to falsify student transcripts, assuming that an outstanding GPA is a ticket to admission.
Good. Now, even though I just made an annotation in the last paragraph, this one introduces a new idea. What idea is that? What is it saying about high schools? Kyle?
They try to make it, they put a lot of pressure on the students, and they try to make it seem like you have to be perfect, or else you will succeed.
Exactly. So what the author is saying is that this isn't isolated to just student attitudes. High schools are also putting this pressure on students and perpetuating this attitude. Yes.
It also say they be putting pressure on the teachers to get the students nothing less than an A, and they want the counselors not to report any disciplinary infractions to the college.
So let's add to what Kyle said then. So this attitude of perfection leads to fraud, right? And leads to actual crimes. Because when everyone feels like they have to be perfect all the time, this is what happens when they're not. So high schools put too much pressure on students to be perfect, which can lead, can I say to corruption?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna read colleges respond. Colleges respond to culture shifts, and admissions officers are digging deeper to find out who students really are outside of their trophies, medals, and test scores. We get the most excited when we read an application that seems real. It's so rare to hear stories of defeat and triumph that when we do, we cheer. If their perspectives are of lessons learned or challenges overcome, these applicants tend to jump to the top of the heap at highly selective colleges. We believe an error in high school should not define the rest of your life, but how you respond could shape you forever. What's the main idea of that paragraph?
What we said in paragraph 3, isn't it?
So we said this in paragraph 3. So if it was also in paragraph 4, I probably wouldn't make an annotation, but why am I going to make another annotation now? Hold on, one at a time. If we see something more than once, and we see it in the beginning, middle, and end, what does that tell us?
That's the main idea.
That it's probably the main idea, or that at least it's important, right? Because it's being mentioned at the beginning, at the middle, and at the end. So is that the 8th paragraph? 7th. So what can I say? Colleges want to see that you can overcome. Want to see that you can overcome obstacles. I'm sorry, I'm doing that thing where I tell you to copy something that's standing in front of it. Can someone read the paragraph, I've spent enough time? Go ahead.
I spent enough time at high school to know teenagers will never be perfect. They do silly things, mess up, fall down, and lack confidence. The ability to bounce back is a fundamental life skill students have to learn on their own. The lessons of failure can't be taught in the classroom. They are experienced and reflected upon. During my weekend of interviews, another student told me, I'm ashamed to admit I failed pre-calculus, but I decided to take it again and got a B+. I'm now taking calculus, and even though I don't love it, I'm glad I pushed through. I asked him what he learned from the experience. I learned to let go of shame, he said. I realized that I can't let a grade define my success. I also learned that if you want anything bad enough, you can achieve it.
And can someone read the very last paragraph? Daquan.
I smiled as I wrote his words down on the application review form. This kid will thrive on my campus. Not only will the faculty love him, but he has the coping skills he needs to adjust to the rigors of life in a residential college setting. Failure is about growth, learning, overcoming, and moving on. Let's allow young people to fail. Not only will they learn something, might even get them to college.
Okay, good. Now we have a bunch of annotations and a bunch of ideas, right? I want you to take 2 minutes, and on your mini whiteboards, I want you to write what you think the main idea is in 1 sentence. Now it can only be 1 sentence, so make sure it is the main idea. 2 minutes. I should hear talking because you should be discussing. Oh, do you need one? Here. Yeah, that's all.
Easy, you just said it like
You have my favorite.
What do you think?
The red doesn't work.
What do you think?
You shouldn't be discouraged by the fact that you may fail.
You should make
All
a
you have to
focus.
do is just fix what you do.
And that's your mistake.
Would prefer to see students' flaws over all their success.
Oh, y'all talk.
Alright. Colleges would prefer to see all students' flaws over their perfections.
Alright, so I put failure is an important aspect of success.
1 minute.
I bet it on what?
You gotta have the.
Can someone pass the sign-in sheet around?
It's right here.
We gotta think.
I'm glad someone's in charge here because we should sit in charge.
Lead to success. Something with success.
Alright, everybody hold up your whiteboard, please. Failure is an important aspect of success. That sounds beautiful. I like that. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Colleges believe that not one student is perfect, okay?
Mine is long.
The main idea of the text is colleges prefer to see students' flaws and know they're still human. The main idea is that you shouldn't be discouraged by your failures. Instead, you should overcome and embrace them because it shows that you are trustworthy enough to succeed in college courses. Why do I love this one?
Because she basically broke it all down and explained it in a better way.
So, if step 1, who writes passes here?
Me.
I keep forgetting who's in charge. If we're saying that we're using the title as a clue, right? And the word failure is in the title, shouldn't we probably mention it?
Yeah.
So I like that they started by saying the main idea is that you shouldn't be discouraged by your failures. Instead, you should overcome and embrace them because it shows that you are trustworthy enough to succeed in college courses. So what is the problem? In a lot of my other classes, the explanation was it is okay to fail. Why is that? I know that's not complete, but why is that not really what the author is saying? Kyle.
Because it's more to it. It's like, that's not explaining like the whole thing.
Right. And is he saying that it's just okay to fail?
They're saying that it's okay to fail, but it's how you
Embrace
like try your hardest to fix it. Like when they said bounce back, it's not just okay to fail and then just leave it. The main important is that you fail and try again. Right?
Yes. So are they saying that it's acceptable to fail if you try again, or do they want you to fail?
It's acceptable to fail if you try again.
So then failure is what?
Okay.
Somebody said it. Because it's more than it's just okay. Where's my dry erase marker? It's important and it's even a positive thing, right? Okay, because they don't say like, oh, it's okay if you fail, we'll forgive you. They say like, we want kids who have failed and overcome, right? They want that. They think failure is a positive thing if you can turn it around. So I liked this group's answer because I felt that it was the most complete in hitting that. Does that make sense? Okay. So, step 2 to attack ELA assessment. Somebody read it loud. Daquan.
Read the first question and cover up the answer choices.
People hate to do this, but I promise you it works. Because how many times are you like, oh my god, I knew that answer, but these choices don't make sense? Right. So I'm telling you, cover up the choices and just read the question first. Step 3. Go ahead.
Reread relevant parts of the text with this question as your focus.
Now that you know what the question is, go back to the text looking for just that answer, right? Step 4? Yes.
Wait your own answer.
Write your own answer, okay? So before you do anything else, before you even look at any choices, write your own answer. So, this was our most missed questions. We're gonna go over the 2 most missed questions. So, it says part A, how does the example of the student who failed pre-calculus in paragraph 7 to 8 contribute to the development of ideas in this article? So it's basically asking you, how do paragraph 7 to 8 support the main idea? So before we even look at answer choices, I'm gonna give you 3 minutes to go back and look at paragraph 7 through 8 and write 1 sentence answering the question in your own words. What are you writing on the whiteboard? Your own answer. Yes, so just
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Y'all want me to read it for you? It's right here. Colleges, this one, right?
That when she failed, she didn't get discouraged. She overcame and later got a B. She bounced back from her failures. But I don't know. You can put it in your own words. I don't know. You're the kind of. But that's basically.
So you said how she was able
You have about 2 minutes.
Why don't you sit right here?
I think that
You haven't started writing, start writing.
what you think?
Alright, so I feel like the main reason why colleges like would rather have somebody who failed and all that to come to their school because they feel like that's the kind of person who might increase the stock at school and make everything better because that's one person that gets work done and make it seem like it's a good school.
I think they I think they're overtime. It's saying like when he said that, it's saying that like when he was them putting the example of him failing calculus, whatever.
Pre-calculus.
Yeah, to learn his mistakes. How does it contribute to the main idea? So it's like the main idea is
Give an example.
Oh wow. He failed pre-calculus. Basically, he went.
Benaya, can you hit that the stop button? Because that's gonna really irritate me. Okay. So I had Kyle write that paragraph 7 to 8 explain the correct way to respond to failure. Now I would add to that saying what the correct way is. So what is the correct way to respond to failure? I see Jabria writing it, so I'm calling her.
to try again.
Which is to try again. Do I need to add anything else to this response? So I feel like this is a pretty complete answer just to match it to a multiple choice. So basically, you're saying that this paragraph about the kid that failed pre-calculus explains, in the college admissions officer's eyes, the correct way to respond to failure, which is to try again. Make sense? Where's my spray?
By your hand.
Wait. Oh. Real life video of my real life challenges. Okay. Okay. Now we're gonna do steps 5 and 6. Once you have your answer written down, you're gonna decide which answer choice best matches your response. If you're like, oh my god, I don't know this answer, none of them match, next step, process of elimination. Isn't there always one or two choices that you know don't make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so isn't it better to eliminate one or two choices and guess between two rather than four? Aren't your chances better? Okay. So here are the answer choices. A, it gives an example of a student who failed and turned it into a positive experience. B, it emphasizes the point that failing is something that all students experience. C, it shows how strongly students are affected by perceived failures. Or D, it gives an example of a student who has the perfect college application. Write down the letter you think is correct on the whiteboard, please. I'm only going to give you a minute because you're only writing a letter.
I think I chose this.
Because not all schools.
If you're sure of your answer, be sure that you can also explain why. Daquan, I realize that I provided those toys for you, but the sound of that one is really irritating me, so just stop making the sound. You can make it a dance ticket though.
If you fail, you can overcome it, right? So,
Kyle made it earlier and I thought I was gonna jump out the window. I don't know why I love this. The sound of that is really bad. Boards!
I'm gonna show.
A. Lo and behold, the steps to attack ELA assessments work, right? Because the answer was A. I would love for you to explain it.
Alright, so we said it's A because since he was basically giving an example. It was giving an example of somebody who had failed and then went back and tried again and actually succeeded and moved on.
Yes. So this gives an example of someone who failed, tried again, and then what?
Succeeded.
Tried again and succeeded, which supports what?
The central idea.
Yes, which supports the central idea. Now, that was beautiful, but guess what? Here's where it gets tricky. Because what kind of question comes next?
The provide.
Provide textual evidence that supports the claim, right?
That's the word.
No, we went through this because if you didn't get the main idea right, you're not going to get the next question right, right? So I'm hoping now that we all have the correct answer, and we all got the correct answer without me, which wasn't the case in every class, that this will be easier. So let's look at part B. It says, which section from the text best supports the answer to part A? Now remember, the answer was, it gives an example of a student who failed and turned it into a positive experience. So we're looking for evidence that supports failure being a positive experience. Now, guys, I'm going to be real with you. When I took this Prove It myself, I got this question wrong. I have a master's degree from Johns Hopkins, you guys. I went $60,000 in debt to get it, and I got this question wrong. Do you want to know why?
Wow.
Here's how they try to trick you. When you read the quotes, they look self-explanatory, right? So you don't think you need to go back in the text.
No.
But you need to go back into the text, because when they're taken out of context, they don't give enough detail to really show which one is correct. You have to go back. When it tells you this is a hint that you need to go back or it won't make sense. So, the choices are A, the ability to bounce back is a fundamental life skill students have to learn on their own. B, during my weekend of interviews, another student told me I'm ashamed to admit I failed pre-calc. C, I realized that I can't let a grade define my success. I also learned that if you want anything bad enough, you can achieve it. D, I smiled as I wrote his words down on the application form. This kid will thrive on my campus. No one all day has gotten this right. Please go back to the text. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to try to figure it out and just write the letter.
Sounds like you gave them a challenge, Miss Gabriel.
I did give them a challenge. I was personally challenged. When I saw the right answer to this, I really had to go back and think why is this the right answer? I had to reach out to people. It's hard.
The first year from South and the last one. Everybody's saying it's C, and then she said, no one got it all day. It's a trick. Right? But I know it's C. It ain't C. She said go back on the paragraph. No, I just you don't
When you explained the first one, he was talking about how he had.
You have about a minute to decide on an answer.
Successful the second time when he failed the first time, and then. So
no one will shoot you with a lightning bolt from the sky if it's wrong.
B says the ability to bounce back is a fundamental life skill students have to learn on their own.
But think about it.
Like really
30 seconds. Decide. Pressure. Testing is pressure.
Write something down.
Pressure. Boom.
Yeah, I felt all that, man. I ain't feeling no pressure. I just felt some yes, ma'am.
Write the letter, just the letter. You're in charge of what you think.
See, man, we gonna keep saying.
We have an A. We have an A. We have a C. We have a C. So I will tell you, when I read this, I thought that the answer was C. Guess what the answer was?
Oh, no, I think A is not C.
D. I thought. Oh. Let me tell you why.
I knew it.
So let me tell you why.
I'm really tough. I gotta go to honors.
There you go. You gotta sit right here with us.
So let's look at the paragraph. Paragraph 8. Paragraph 8, you guys, is more than just this one quote. It says, I smiled as I wrote his words down on the application review form. This kid will thrive on my campus. Not only will the faculty love him, but he has the coping skills he needs to adjust to the rigors of life in a residential college setting. Failure is about growth, learning, overcoming, and moving on. Why is it D?
Because, well,
Why is it D? Yeah.
I don't know my explanation right, but I said it was D because the whole story, it was talking about how colleges think it's important to succeed. And D says, I don't know how to explain it. I just knew that it was.
Well, listen. If we're trying to support, it gives an example of a student who failed and turned it into a positive experience. We're not just looking for a quote that says, it was okay to fail, I forgive you for failing. It was positive. So what tells you that it's positive in D?
Because it says the ability to bounce back is something like
So there's a word.
It says that he got accepted.
He got accepted. So obviously that was positive. What word was my clue?
Thrive.
Thrive. Where is it? Thrive. Why is that a clue?
Because it went forward. It was you great.
Yes. So D is correct. because the word, what does the word thrive prove?
That she worked hard.
That not only
She meant for that.
is failure okay, but what, Kyle? You said it before. Thrive implies what? Yes, but it can help you to be great.
I was like, how could this be?
The word thrive doesn't just mean you're doing okay. It doesn't just mean you're doing a little bit good, right? You are truly successful. You are truly the best that you can be, right? So that had the most positive connotation, which went with A. But I did not get that either until I went back to the text and looked at that last paragraph, and that last paragraph describes all about how he was thriving, about how he reached his maximum greatness, all because of this failure. Does that make sense? You can stop recording now if you want, because that's just what I wanted to